4.
My friends, I stand before you today with great optimism and excitement about the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity before us. Idaho's economy is stronger than ever before.
Optimism and excitement flowed through Governor Brad Little's State of the State address today as he laid out his proposals, his wish list for investments and programs going into the next year and beyond. I want to welcome you to the news at 4. I'm Carolyn Hawley filling in for Morgan today. And we begin on the Capitol Watch. The governor's speech kicked off the 2022 legislative session. Right now, Idaho has a record $1.9 billion budget surplus. He unveiled what he calls his Leading Idaho Plan. As Doug Petcash shows us, the main parts of that are giving Idahoans a large chunk of their tax dollars back and putting another big chunk into education.
By now, you know my goal, for Idaho to be a place where we all have the opportunity to thrive and where our children and grandchildren choose to stay, and for the ones that left to choose to return.
That's been a common theme of the governor's since he first ran for the office 4 years ago. To accomplish that goal, the governor believes with a record $1.9 billion budget surplus, now is the time to give Idahoans a tax break. Another tax break on top of last year's $450 million tax relief package.
With Biden inflation exploding, let's immediately pass $600 million in income tax relief that we can get back into the wallets of all Idahoans this spring.
$350 million of that would be in tax rebates, payments back to Idaho taxpayers. It's a key component of the governor's Leading Idaho Plan.
A path to give back our record budget surplus to Idahoans through continued tax relief and strategic investments where they make the biggest difference in their daily lives.
He says that includes paying off debt, catching up on backlogged repairs of roads and bridges, and putting money in the state's rainy day funds. Plus, major investments in education to the tune of $300 million. In that, a 10% pay raise for teachers and $1,000 bonuses for teachers because of the extra work they've had to do through the pandemic, as well as nearly $50 million more for early reading programs.
We want our Idaho students to receive a strong foundation of learning now so they can stay here and make our state strong for future generations.
In his Leading Idaho Plan, the governor also unveiled proposals for law enforcement, cybersecurity, veterans, mental health, and more. Now we'll see over the coming weeks and months how much of it the legislature agrees with or not. In Boise, Doug Petcash, Idaho's News Channel 7.
Well, the governor fielded questions from the media today following his State of the State address, and all eyes in that news conference focused on the governor's proposed budget. Andrew Bartline joins us live from the State House following that media availability with the governor. And what did he have to say, Andrew?
Yeah, the governor seems very proud about his proposed budget. He's put forward that he says it's prudent and that it's balanced. His office says they continue to look through the budget at a 5-year lens, and they say it is prudent and balanced through that lens. Education infrastructure are those top 2 priority pieces the governor proposed today. Looking at transportation infrastructure, he says to keep up with growth, proposing $400 million toward that infrastructure. Half of that money is one time coming out of that state surplus, while the other $200 million is ongoing from the state budget. Focusing on education, the governor is proposing the largest investment ever in Idaho education. It's $1.1 billion through the next 5 years. The governor says this proposal and the education aspect specifically has been a long time coming.
And I said, just be patient. We'll do literacy and we'll do career ladder, and then we'll do teacher pay, and it was kind of my commitment. So all of those aspects of education are things that we've talked about for a long time, but we couldn't do them all at once, but we're doing actually more this year than I thought we'd ever be able to do, but it's because of our fortunate economic situation.
With some historically large investments in spending, Little says he continues to be prudent and they will not be recklessly spending this money. In turn, he says that allows the state to keep taxes low. The governor proposed more than $1 billion in income tax relief over the next 5 years. In practice, that looks like the highest tax bracket. I think it's about 6.5%. That would drop 0.5% down to 6%. The governor's office says there is sort of a fine line to walk here, as the state is generating more revenue than they expected. I believe the governor said earlier today more than 23% revenue increase, I should say. But they don't think that's sustainable. Also, inflation from a lot of federal dollars coming into the economy too. It's forcing them to try to remain frugal. But of course, the other side of that line, there are a lot of deferred maintenance and infrastructure that needs to be kept up. So dipping into that surplus, putting some money toward that direction, the governor thinks this is the right time and way to do it. Carolyn?
Well, this is kind of the honeymoon, and now all the testimony and the negotiations begin. Lots of Idahoans will be watching. Thank you, Andrew, for that live report. We want you to all know that coming up at 4:30, we will have reaction from state lawmakers, both Democrats and Republicans. Joe Parrish will join us with what they had to say about the governor's speech. And again, that's going to come up about 4:30 this afternoon. But meanwhile, if you want to watch the governor's speech, you can find that on ktvb.com. So make sure and stay right here and